All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And as you've heard, as part of my unending quest to try to give you as much information on the material that you'll need for the AWD 1000 Web Development Technologies and AWD 1111 Database-Driven Websites classes, I've been creating a series of video presentations based on the ebooks from Mr. Flavio Copes. As you can see, he's got a lot of them. And I've picked out 7. HTML, CSS, beginning JavaScript, ES5 to ESNext, Express.js, Node.js, Express.js, and React. And that's 7. And I'm in the middle of the second one, which is talking about CSS. And I've been talking about CSS grid, and now is the example. Now, this may be a short lecture, I don't know, because it's only a few pages long. But it says, here is a simple example of using CSS grid to create a site layout that provides a header on top, a main part in the middle with a sidebar to the left of it, and the content for a footer on the bottom. So when we look at, it says, here's the markup. So we've got a whole thing in a wrapper. There's the header. All right. There is an article. So that's this. Then we've got an aside. That's there. And finally, we've got a footer on the bottom. All right. So let's just grab this. And again, as I have been doing, I'm going to come back into here. And I'm going to take everything. I think everything is, yep, it is. It is all commented out. So I'll just jump back up to the top and put this in. All right. Now, as of right now, and you all know this, there is no CSS associated with this. All right, so we've got an article with an H1 in it and a paragraph in it, right? We've got a header with just the word header in it, which is fine, but that's what's in there. So let's really space this thing out. So there's our header area. There's our article area. Then we've got an aside, which has, as of right now at least, an unordered list in it. And then finally at the bottom, we've got a footer. But again, mentioning this again, that there is no, oops, let me wait until the clock stops. All right, so here's our footer. This ends the div. This is going to look like basically nothing. All right, once we bring it up. So there it is. Okay, nothing. All right, and it's got just basically default formatting and stuff in here, so don't let that worry you at all. So then we jump back in, and then we add the CSS. So let's just put this in a piece at a time, and I'm going to actually put in this first. So even though that's, I would have actually put that in at the beginning and not at the end there. Okay, so jumping back in here and then jumping into the CSS. We've got a bunch of CSS in here, but again, I will comment every little bit of it out. Move back up to the top. All right, and there's my wrapper. So we're telling it to display as a grid. There should be 20 pixels between each one of these areas. All right, the template columns, 1/4 and 3/4. And the areas, we're going to have a header area, a sidebar content area, and a footer area. So if we put this in, just that, and we look, okay, it got pushed over a little bit, but it pretty much looks the way that it looked before, right? It doesn't really look much different. All right, so let's just continue on. So we'll do them in order. So let's do the header first. And we're saying it's a grid area. It's the grid area header, the one that was defined down here. All right, the background color we're setting, and we're setting some padding, and that's it. So what did that do? Well, by adding that background color, the header already was a block level element. It was not inline, it was block level. Okay, so we've got that part set up. Now, the sidebar is actually supposed to go over here, and this welcome with a hi is supposed to go over here. So how are we going to do that? Well, we've got our article, and we've got our aside. So let's do the article first. Which did this. Okay. So it moved it over, set it up. We've got some coloring in here. So next we'll do the sidebar, and finally we'll do the footer. So again, with the aside, I said sidebar, it isn't aside. All right. We're just saying that it's a sidebar. All right. And again, we set this up. We said our header area is going to hold the header stuff. We've got the sidebar. We've got the content. We've got the footer. All right. So now we've got that. So the only thing left, as you probably guess, is just the footer. And the colors rather in here are they're immaterial, but it's all set up. And that really didn't take much, all right, to set that up and have it look nice, all right, spaced out, etc., symmetrical, at least to a point, etc. And I think it looks pretty decent. So the author says that he added some color to make it prettier, but basically it assigns to every tag a grid area name, all right, which, as it says, is used in the grid template areas property in wrapper. When the layout is smaller, we can put the sidebar below by using this media query. So let's add the media query. First of all, let's look at it, and let's make it smaller. And you'll notice it's not responsive at all. Okay, these are not shrinking in size or anything else. But by adding a simple media query, and we'll go back and look at what's in that query in just a moment. But by putting that in here, all right, so what is this saying? Well, this is saying that if we are between 1 pixel and 500 pixels in width, that we want our wrapper to be set up as shown. All right. So we want the columns to be each a quarter, and we want the areas to basically, I think it means, stack one up on top of one another. So looking at what we just had and shrinking it down, whoop, not there, but shrinking it down again, See, when it gets to 500 pixels, right there. Okay, that's pretty simple. All right. So it says these are the basics of CSS Grid. There are many things that were not included in this introduction because the author sought to make it simple. All right. So what'll be in here next, we'll talk about Flexbox. And again, I was always under the incorrect presumption that Flexbox and Grid were two different things that basically were mutually exclusive of one another. That is not the case. It is true that they are two different things. All right, but they can be used in conjunction with one another if you so desire. So we're on page 118, and next we'll go from 118 to 129. So about 10 or 11 pages. All right, and that'll be the next thing that we cover in the next lesson.